Hi, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we call the incumbency advantage. And there's kind of an irony in American politics that we tend to not think Congress does a very good job. In fact, when we poll people and ask them how they think Congress is doing, we almost always get a pretty dismal report. Here's an example. See how fast my internet's going to be today. This is an organization called pollingreport.com, and they actually do a pretty good job of pulling together lots of different kinds of polls on lots of different kinds of things. And so what this is about Congress's job rating, and as you can see in the most recent polls that they've reported, and these polls go back quite a long time, you can see that there's almost always a huge gap between those who approve of the job that Congress is doing and the people who disapprove of the job Congress is doing. And you can see that Congress is quite unpopular most of the time. And yet, we elect the same people over and over and over again to the same positions in Congress. So it's kind of ironic. If we don't think they're doing a very good job, why do we keep re-electing the same people over and over again? Well, it turns out we tend to not like other people's members of Congress, but we like our own members of Congress just fine. So we keep re-electing them over and over again. And I want to talk about some of the reasons political scientists have ascribe to what we call the incumbency advantage. So the incumbency advantage is the fact that members of Congress who choose to run for re-election are usually successful. And the re-election rates are actually quite high. Now, this doesn't take into account the fact that some members of Congress choose to retire, especially if they think they won't get reelected if they run. But members of Congress who choose to run for reelection are usually successful. And if we go to this organization called opensecrets.org, which I think I've showed you before, they have a really, really good database about money in politics, but they also have this kind of cool graph that shows reelection rates over the years. This is the re-election rates for the House of Representatives from 1964 until the most recent election in 2018. And keeping in mind that in 2018, enough seats in the House of Representatives shifted from Republican control to Democratic control that the Democrats took control of the House of Representatives. But 91% of members of the House who chose to run for re-election got re-elected. So even though 2018 was a really important election in terms of the outcome of the election, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that what we call the incumbency advantage, where a Republican had retired. There's kind of an irony in American politics, but still the incumbency advantage held true, even though a very good job. The outcome of the election, when we poll people and ask who holds power, how they think in the House of Representatives doing, Senate races are usually a little bit more competitive. Mostly because members of the Senate represent an entire state, which means that they tend to attract much more this is an organization called pollingreport.com, so people who are well-known do a pretty good job of other state offices are more likely to run for Senate polls, kind of give those senators a run for their money things. But still, and so what well over 80% of job rating Senate who choose to run for re-election, the most recent polls that they've reported, and these polls go back election are quite a long time, and that's what we call the incumbency advantage. And I want to talk about there's almost always that help explain the incumbency advantage between recognition, those who favor a district that Congress is boundary line, and the people who a fundraising advantage and the ability to do district services such as Congress is quite unpopular. I'll do the first one without another slide because it's pretty quick. We elect the same people over and over again who hold congressional seats are better known than the people who are doing a very good job. In fact, in the House of Representatives, incumbent members of the House of Representatives usually don't get a serious challenge from somebody who's very well known within the district. Like our own senators, again, maybe get a more well-known challenge over again. And I want to talk about members of the House and members of the Senate are better known in their districts and Political scientists who study these things have attributed somewhere between 5 and 7% of the vote
So the
just to
incumbency
the fact
advantage
that somebody
is
recognizes
the fact
their name
that
on the
members
ballot,
of Congress
even if they don't
choose
know
to
anything
run
else
for
about
re-election,
are usually successful. And the
favorable
re-election rates are
district
actually
boundary
quite
lines are
high.
also
Now, this
really
doesn't take
important
into account
part
the
of the
fact that
incumbency
some
advantage.
members of Congress choose
About
to retire,
90% of
especially
the
if
seats
they
in the
think
House of Representatives
they won't get
are what we call
reelected if they
safe
run.
seats.
But members
That
of
means
Congress who
over
choose to run for re-election
400
are usually
of the
successful.
435
Now, if we go
seats
to this
are
organization
not really
called
very
OpenSecrets.org,
competitive between the
which
two
I think
political
I've showed you
parties.
before,
They
they
are
have
safe for one party
really,
or the other.
really good
And we
database
measure that by
about money
looking at
in politics, but they
voter
also have
registration
this
statistics.
kind of cool
So,
graph
for example,
that shows
if a
re-election
congressional
rates
district
over the
has
years.
a
This is the
60-40
re-election rates for the House of
Republican
Representatives from
majority
1964 in
the
terms
most
of recent
voter
election
registration,
in
where 60%
of the
And
people
keeping
who
in
are
mind that in
registered
2018,
with a political party are
enough
registered
seats
Republicans,
in
and
the House of
40%
Representatives
are registered
shifted
Democrats.
from Republican
That would be
control to
considered a
Democratic
safe seat for the
control, that
Republican
Democrats
Party,
took control
regardless
of the
of
House
who
of
holds
Representatives.
the seat.
But because most people
91%
vote party line,
of members of the
so
House who chose to
part
run for
of
re-election
the
got
incumbency
re-elected.
advantage, a big
So
part of the
even
incumbency
though
advantage is due to safe
2018
seats,
was a really important
and
election in terms of the
seats are
outcome
safe
of the election,
because of just
a
because
lot
of
of the seats
geography.
that the Democrats picked
So,
up
for
were
example,
seats
San
where a
Francisco
Republican had
has
retired,
a lot
and
of
a few
safe
Republicans lost their
Democratic
seats. But
That's
still,
not
the
because the
incumbency
district
advantage
boundary
held
lines were
true, even
intentionally
though the
drawn
outcome of the
to benefit
election
the Democratic
was
Party.
quite
That's
a
what
big
we call
change in who
gerrymandering.
holds power
We'll talk about that
in the
in a
House of
second.
Representatives.
But
Those
Senate
seats
races
are
are
safe
usually
because
a little
they're
bit
just
more
aren't
competitive,
Republicans who
mostly
live in San
because
Francisco
members of the
compared
Senate
to the
represent an
overwhelming
entire state,
number of
which
Democrats
means
who
that they
live in
tend
San Francisco.
to
The same holds true
attract much more
in
capable
big cities like Los
opponents,
Angeles
and so
Chicago,
people who are
and
well
even
known
in
or
places
who
that
hold other state
are much
offices
more
are more
conservative,
likely
like
to run for
Texas.
Senate. You still
Kind
get
of
a
give
lot of
those senators a
Democratic
run for
seats
their money.
in
But
places like
still,
Austin and
well
Dallas.
over 80% of members of the Senate who choose to run for re-election. Every process of drawing district boundary lines and that results in these safe seats starts with what's
and
called
that's what we call
reapportionment.
And there's some stuff in your
Advantage.
textbook
And I
about
want to
this,
talk
but I
about
just wanted to go over
four
really
things
briefly
that help explain
and
the
just
incumbency
to make sure that
advantage. Name
everybody
recognition,
understands what happens every
favorable
10
district
years, because we're getting
boundary
ready
lines,
to do this again,
fundraising
after the
advantage,
2020
and the ability
census.
to do
So
district services
what
such as
reapportionment
casework.
does is it
I'll
gives
do the
each
first one
state
without another
its
slide
correct
because
number
it's
of representatives
pretty
in
quick.
the House of
Most
Representatives.
people who run
Every
for Congress
state gets 2
who
seats in the
hold
Senate, so this doesn't
congressional
apply
seats
for the
are
Senate.
better known
But for the
than
House of
people who run
Representatives,
against them.
seats
In fact,
are
in the House
allocated
of
to the states
Representatives,
based on their
incumbent
population.
members of the House
So,
of
for example,
Representatives
California
usually
has
don't
about
get
12%
a serious
of the US
challenge from
population,
somebody who's
so we
very
get
well
about
known
12%
within the
of
district.
the seats in
Senators,
the House right
again,
now.
maybe
California
get a
has
more well-known
53
challenger
seats in the House
but
of
by and
Representatives.
large, members
That
of the House
process is
and
done
members of the Senate
after every census.
are
So
better known in their
2020,
districts.
we're going to count
And political scientists
all the
who
people
study
in the
these
United
things
States.
have
If
attributed
you follow
somewhere
the news,
between 5 and 7%
know
of the
that
vote
there's a big
just
controversy
to the
going
fact
on
that
right
somebody
now about
recognizes
whether or
their
not
name on the ballot,
the
even if they don't know
census should
anything else
include
about
a
them.
question about citizenship.
Democrats are fighting
Favorable
that.
district
Republicans
boundary
are
lines
pushing
are
for
also
that.
really
And the
important
Supreme Court
part
just
of the
heard
incumbency
arguments
advantage
from both sides
about
and they'll make a
90%
decision
of the seats
pretty
in the
quick
House of
probably
Representatives
about whether
are
or
what we
not
call safe seats.
there's going to
That means
be
over
a citizenship
400
question
of the
on the census.
435 seats
But after the
are
census
not
is
really
done,
very
we use a
competitive
process
between
called
the
the
two
method
political
of equal
parties. They are
proportions
safe
to
for one
allocate
party
the
or the other.
435
And we
seats
measure
in the
that by
House
looking
to the
at
50 states.
so
So
voter
every state
registration
starts with
statistics,
one. So, for
and then the
example,
state with
if
the
a
highest
congressional
population
district
gets
has
another
a
seat,
60-40
and then
Republican
they say, okay, what's the
next highest
majority in
population
terms
state,
of
and then they get
voter
a seat,
registration,
and they just
where
keep
60%
doing that
of the
until
people
they've
who are
allocated
registered
all
as
435
with a political party
seats
are registered
so that
Republicans,
each
and
state
40%
gets
are
its
registered
appropriate
Democrats.
number
That would be considered a
seats.
safe
And
seat
sometimes
for
that
the
means a
Republican
state
Party,
will gain some
regardless
seats.
of who
Sometimes
holds
it means
the
a state
seat,
loses seats.
because
We
most
don't
people
know
vote
what will
party
happen. Some
line.
people think that
So
California might
part
actually
of
lose a seat
the incumbency
in the House
advantage after
big
the
part of the
2020
incumbency
census,
advantage is due to
simply
safe
because
seats.
other parts of the country
And
are growing
some
at a faster
seats
clip
are safe
than California.
because of,
But we won't know
just
until
because
after
of
the method of
geography.
equal proportions.
So,
is
for
applied.
example, San Francisco
This
has
is what
a
the
lot
current
of safe
this
Democratic
is kind of a blurry
seats.
picture. Sorry about
That's
that.
not because the
This
district
is what the
boundary lines
current
were intentionally
district boundary lines
drawn
look like
to
for the
benefit the Democratic Party. You can see that gerrymandering I'm going to talk about that in a second.
You can't really see, but
those seats are safe.
We have 53 seats in the House of Representatives, and they are
in San Francisco.
They're drawn by a citizen commission in
Democrats
in California.
We don't
the
allow
same
politicians
to draw our district boundary lines in California.
Big cities
But you can
like
see
Los
that
Angeles
some of
and
these districts
Chicago
are
and
really
even
large,
in
and some of
places
these
that
districts are really
much
small
more
geographically.
conservative, like Texas.
But each of
You
these
still get a lot
districts,
of
at the time the
Democratic
district
seats
boundaries
in
were
places
drawn
like
in
Austin and
2011, after the 2010 census, each of these districts had approximately the same number of people in them. That's why they're so geographically different.
What's called
reapportionment,
because each district
and there's some
has to
stuff
have
in your
about
textbook about this, but I just wanted to go over it really briefly.
In fact,
and just to make sure that everybody understands what happens every 10
the
years.
requirement that each district be equal in
population is referred to as the one person, one vote principle.
What reapportionment
and this
does
holds
is it
true
gives
across
each
the country.
state
So
its correct number
from
of
California all the way up
in
to
the House of
Maine,
Representatives.
each congressional
Every
district
state gets
will
2
have
seats in the
about
Senate,
the
same
this
number
doesn't
of
apply
people
for
in
the
it
Senate
at the time,
but for the
the
House of
district boundary
Representatives
lines are drawn.
seats are
And that's
allocated
reflective
to the
of what's
states
called
based
the
on their
one person, one
population
vote
principle.
So, for
which was
example,
established in the
California
Supreme
has
Court
about
case back in
12%
1962
of the
called
US
Baker
population.
versus Carr.
So we get about
what was happening
12%
is a lot of
seats in the
states
House right now.
primarily
California
to
has
keep people
53
of color
seats in the
from
House of Representatives.
achieving
That
political
process
power
is done
after
states
every
withdraw their
census.
district boundary lines
So
that they were
in
grossly
2020, we're going to
disproportionate
count
in terms of size.
all
And what
the
the
people
Supreme
in the
Court
United
ruled in
States,
1962
if you follow the
is
news,
that because
you'll
everybody
know
is
that there's a
entitled
big
to equal
controversy
protection
going
of the
on right
law
now
about whether or
it
not
means that everybody's
the
vote needs to
census
count
should
the
include
same,
a question about
which means
citizenship.
each
Democrats
district
are
has to
fighting
have
that.
about the same number of
Republicans are
people in
pushing
it.
for that.
So from
And
the
the
district
Supreme
to
Court
district
just heard arguments
everybody in
from
those
both
districts
sides,
vote
and they'll make a
counts the
decision
same
toward
pretty quick,
electing
probably,
somebody about whether
to
or
that
not
office, whether it be the
there's
House of
going to
Representatives
be a sense
or a California
state
legislative
question
seat or
on the
even a
census.
city council
But after the
district.
census
They
is
all have to
done,
have about
we
the
use a
same number of
process called
people
the method of equal proportions
relative to the other
allocate the
districts
435
for the same
seats in the
office.
House to the 50 states.
The
So
other
every
legal
state starts
requirements
with
of
one,
redistricting are
and
not
then
really
the state with the highest population
as
gets
strict
another
as
seat,
the one person,
and
one
then
vote
they
rule,
say,
but
okay,
they're
what's the next highest
legal
population
requirements
state, and then
nonetheless.
they get a seat.
The
And
first
they
is
just
that the
keep
districts
doing
must be
that
geographically
until they've
contiguous.
allocated
And
all
what that means is that
435
each
seats
part of the
so that
district
each
has
state
each district
gets
has to be
its appropriate number.
So, for
of
example,
seats. And
it
sometimes
wouldn't
that
be
means a
allowed
state will gain
for
some seats,
part of
sometimes
Northern
it means a
California
state
and
loses
part of
seats.
Southern
We don't
California
know what will
to
happen.
be in the
Some
same
people think that
congressional
California
district.
might
If
actually lose
the
a
people
seat
drawing the
in the
district
House
boundary line
after the 2020
really
census
wanted to do that,
simply because
they would
other
have to
parts of the country are
connect
growing at a
Northern and
faster
Southern
clip
California,
than
like along
California.
I-5 or
But
something
we won't
like
know
that.
until
But
after the method of equal
mostly it
proportions
means
is
that they have to
applied.
be geographically
This is what the
contiguous.
current
Now,
this is
if
kind of
there
a
if a
blurry
state
picture,
includes
sorry about that.
islands,
And there's no
this is what the current district boundary
to that
lines look
island,
like for the state
obviously
of
part
California.
of the
You
district
can
might
see
have
that
to not be geographically contiguous
we have
because
can't really
can't
see,
be
but
the islands
pretend you
out.
can see. We have
But for the
53
most part, they
seats
have
in
to
the
be
House of
geographically
Representatives,
contiguous.
and
they
then,
are
they're
the people who are drawing the
by a
district boundary
citizen
lines,
commission
whether it's
in
the state
California. We
legislature
don't
or
allow
in
politicians to
California,
draw
our
our
district boundary lines
recognition.
in California.
The
But
courts
you can see that
have,
some
the
of these
Supreme Court
districts
has
are
said
really
that
large,
they
and some
should
of these districts
try
are really
as best
small
they can to
geographically.
maintain
But
political
each of these
communities
districts
together,
at the time
so
the
that
district
everybody
boundaries
who
were
lives
drawn
in the political
2011
can go to the
after
same
the
person to
2010
try to get
census.
change.
So, for
Each
example,
of these districts
we try
had
to keep
approximately the
cities
same
together.
number of
We
people
try
in
to
them.
keep
That's why they're so
counties together.
geographically
Where
different
that's not
in
possible,
size, because
for
each
example,
district
Los
has to
Angeles
have
County
about
has
the
more
same
than 10
number of
million people in it.
So if each district has
In
to
fact,
have 800,000 people, you can't have a district.
The
with 10
requirement
million
that
people.
each
So you
district
have to
be
break
equal in
the
population
county of
is
Los
referred
Angeles
to
up.
as
So
the
then you
one
might want to
person, one
look at
vote principle.
the cities
And this
within
holds
Los
true
Angeles.
across
You might
the
want to keep
country.
Hollywood
So,
together.
from
You might want to
California all
keep
the way up to Maine,
Pasadena
each
together,
congressional
etc.
district
So
will
if
have
you,
about the same number
if
of
you
people
look at
in
a
it
map
at
of
the time
California, you
the
would
district
find, for
boundary lines
example,
are
that
drawn.
most
And that's
of the city
reflective of what's called the one
is
person, one
located
vote
within
principle,
one congressional
which was
district.
established in a
And
Supreme
then
Court case
some
back in
parts of the
1962
county
called
are
Baker
located in a
versus Carr.
different
What was
congressional
happening
district
is
because
a lot of
Sacramento County is
states,
too big,
primarily
to
to
one
keep people
House
of color
district.
from achieving political
One
power,
of the biggest controversies
states
about
would draw their district
redistricting
boundary lines
is
so
what we
that they
call
were
gerrymandering.
grossly
So what this
disproportionate in
cartoon
terms of
illustrates
size. and what the Supreme Court ruled in 1962 is that because everybody is entitled to the equal protection of the law, it means that everybody's vote voters should select their own elected representatives, which means the problem with district has to have about the same number of people. It allows so from district to district to district, everybody in those districts vote boundary lines counts the same that favor electing somebody party or another to that office, whether it be the House of Representatives
or a California state legislative seat, or even a city council
so that their
district.
side
They all
will
have
win.
to have
And it's
about
very
the same number of
controversial, and
people,
there are two really big important
relative to
Supreme
the
Court
other
cases pending before the court
for the
this
same
year
office.
having to do with gerrymandering.
The other legal requirements of redistricting
The
are
process
not really
of drawing district boundary lines for political
as
purposes
strict
is
as
called
the one-person
gerrymandering. It's
one-vote
been
rule,
around
but there
since the beginning of the country.
legal
It's been done
requirements
nonetheless.
since pretty much
The first is that the districts must be
got
geographically
created
contiguous
in the United
and
States.
what that means
And
is
it's
that
gotten more and more
each
and more
part of the
controversial
district
over
has to,
time.
each
as
district has to
computer
be
programming
has made
So, for
gerrymandering
example,
more
it wouldn't
and more
be allowed
precise.
for
And
part of Northern
and basically
California
there are
and
two
part of
types
Southern
of
California
gerrymandering.
to be in the same
There's
congressional
what we call
district.
packing, and
If
there's what we call
the
cracking.
people drawing the district boundary
Packing
lines
is the
really,
process
really
of
wanted to do that.
taking
They would
a
have to
group
connect
of people,
Northern
whether
and
it
Southern
is,
California, like along I-5 or something like that. But
racial minority,
mostly it
or
means that they have to be geographically
partisan group like Democrats or
contiguous.
Republicans.
Now,
and packing
if a
all
state
into
includes
one group,
islands
and
into
there's
one
no
district by drawing the district boundary
bridge to
lines
that island,
around
then
the areas
obviously
where those
part of
people
the district
live,
might have to
so
not
that they're
be geographically
concentrated in just a
contiguous,
few
because
districts.
can't leave the
And
islands out.
If you
But
do that,
for the most part, they have to
you
be
can
geographically contiguous.
ensure
And then,
that your party gets all the rest
people
of
who
the
are drawing the
districts,
district
because
boundary
there
lines,
would be a
whether it's the
disproportionate
state
number
legislature
of,
or
say,
in
Democrats
California, our
in
redistricting
just a
commission.
couple of districts,
The
and then the
courts
Republicans would
the
be the
Supreme
majority
Court
in the
has said
rest,
that
or a
they
disproportionate
should
number of
try
Democrats,
as best they can to maintain
Democrats,
political
if the,
communities together, so that
if the
everybody who
Democrats
lives
control
in
the process,
political
they would put a
community can
disproportionate
go
number
to
of
the same
Republicans
person
into just
to try to get
districts,
change.
and
So,
then
for
the Democrats
example,
would get all
we
the
try to
rest
keep
of the
cities
districts.
together. We try to
The
keep
other
counties
type
together
of where that's not
gerrymandering
possible,
is what's
for
referred
example,
to as cracking.
Los Angeles
And
County
what
has more
that
than 10 million
is
people in
where,
it. So if
each
there's
district has to
group
have
of people concentrated
800,000
in one
people,
area,
say
you can't have a
Democrats
district
in
with 10
Austin,
million
Texas.
people.
So you have to
If the
break
legislature
the county of
can get
Los
away
Angeles
with it,
up.
they might want
So
to
then you might want to look at
crack
the
city
cities
of
within
Austin
Los Angeles. You might want to keep
into
Hollywood together. You might
several
want to
different
keep
congressional districts,
Pasadena
so
together,
that the
etc.
Democrats
So
are
if you
diffused, or the
if you look at a
Republicans,
map
if
of
it's the
California,
Democrats
you
doing the
would find, for
gerrymandering,
example,
are
that most
diffused
of the
into
city of
a
Sacramento
bunch of different
is
districts,
located
so
within
that
one
the
congressional
party that
district,
is controlling
and
the
then
some parts of the
gerrymandering
county
will
are
win those
located in a
districts because
different
there aren't enough
congressional
of the
district,
other
because
party in
Sacramento
those
County is
districts
too big
to fit into one
Partisan
House
gerrymandering
district.
has never been ruled unconstitutional.
One of the biggest
The Supreme Court has
controversies about
never said
redistricting
that either
is what we call
packing
gerrymandering.
or
So what
cracking
this cartoon
is
illustrates is
unconstitutional.
the problem
There are
of gerrymandering.
two cases
So
testing
back
that
then,
before
this
the
is back
Supreme
when the
Court this year,
Constitution was
but for
written,
now,
you have a
partisan
gerrymandering
gerrymandering is
is
voters can
constitutional.
select their own elected
Racial
representatives.
gerrymandering
The
is
problem with
unconstitutional
gerrymandering
if
is
it's
it
cracking.
allows
Politicians
if
to
there
choose their
is
own
a
voters
finding
by
by drawing district
a
boundary
court
lines
that
favor one political party or another, district plan, a redistricting
politicians
map, has
can
intentionally broken
effectively
apart
rig the game
the
so
voting
that their
power
side will
of
win.
people
And
of
it's very
color.
controversial, and
The
there are
Supreme
two
Court
really
has found
big
that
important
that process
Supreme Court
violates
cases
the
pending before
14th
the
Amendment
court this
guarantee
year
of
having
equal
to do with
protection under the
gerrymandering.
law, is unconstitutional racial gerrymandering.
The process of
If
drawing
you
district
think
boundary
back
lines
to
for
the
political
discussion
discussion is called
that we
gerrymandering.
had
It's been
in
around
this
since
class
the beginning
about
of the country.
the
It's
14th
been done
Amendment.
since
If
pretty
you
much
remember,
strict
districts
scrutiny,
got created
laws that
in
discriminate
the
on the
United
basis
States,
of
and
race
it's gotten more
have
and
to
more and
serve
more
a compelling
controversial
government
over time.
interest.
As
And
the
the
court
computer
has said,
programming
there can be
has
no
made
compelling
gerrymandering
government
more
interest
and more
in keeping
precise.
people of color
And
from electing
basically
people
there
of
are
color
two
to
types
office. So
of
racial cracking is
gerrymandering.
unconstitutional.
There's what we call
but
packing,
partisan
and there's what we call
gerrymandering.
cracking. Both packing
Packing
and cracking
is the
okay
process
for now.
of taking
I just want to show you
a
a couple of
group of people,
examples of
whether it
gerrymandering.
these are
Current gerrymanders,
racial minority,
and you can
or
see
they are
partisan group
these
like
districts
Democrats
are
or Republicans,
geographically
and packing
contiguous,
them
but
all
they're
into one group,
strangely
into one
shaped.
district by
It's
drawing the
hard to imagine
district boundary
that
lines
the people
around
these
the areas where
boundary
those
lines
people live,
didn't
so that they're
do
concentrated in just
for
a few
partisan
districts,
purposes.
and
To
to keep
if
their
you do
political
that,
party in power.
you
This is
can
North Carolina.
ensure that
see,
your party gets all the rest of the districts, because there
they used
would
to
be
have
a
them all
disproportionate
listed one
number
after the other,
of,
but
say,
now they have
Democrats in
they have it like
just
this.
a couple of districts, and then the
These
Republicans
are
would be
funny
the majority
little-
in the rest, or a
This looks like an
disproportionate
elephant
number of
to me. That looks
Democrats.
like his trunk.
But this is
Democrats,
Florida, and you can
it's
see
a,
that this is a really weirdly drawn
If
district.
the
That's a
Democrats
gerrymandered
control the
district.
process, they would put a disproportionate
And,
number of
Republicans
another
into
one
just
that's hard to imagine
and then the Democrats
any
would get
purpose
all the
other
rest of the
than
districts.
some sort of political gain that
other
would
type
cause them
of,
to draw the district boundary lines
gerrymandering
so
is what's
strangely.
referred to as
This
fracking.
website actually has
And what that
lots of them,
is
but I won't show
where
you all of them.
if there's a group of people concentrated in one area, say Democrats in Austin, Texas,
for one party
if the
or the
legislature
other,
can get away with it,
or
they might want the fact that crack the city of Austin,
people from one party live in one geographic area,
several different congressional districts, so that the Democrats are diffused,
incumbents
or the Republicans,
also
if it's the
enjoy
Democrats
a
doing the
huge
gerrymandering,
fundraising
are
advantage,
diffused into a bunch of different
fundraising
districts,
advantage.
so that
What
the
that
party
means
that
is
is
that
controlling
incumbents
the
can usually raise
gerrymandering
as much
will
money
win
as they
those
think they're
districts
going to
because there
need
aren't enough
to
of
get
the
reelected.
other party in
And
those
challengers,
districts.
the people who run against the incumbents,
Partisan gerrymandering
has never
raised
been
as much
ruled
money
unconstitutional.
as
The
the
Supreme
incumbent.
Court has never said
That's
that
part of the
either
reason
members of the House of
or
Representatives don't
is
tend to get very
unconstitutional.
strong
There are
challengers because they know they're not going to be able to raise
before the
as much
Supreme
money
Court this year.
Again,
But
if we
for
go back to
now,
opensecrets.org,
partisan
you can see
gerrymandering
the
is
incumbency
constitutional.
advantage. This is from
Racial
the 2018
gerrymandering
election
is
cycle.
unconstitutional.
And what you can see is
if it's
in the
cracked.
House of Representatives,
So
for example,
if there
the
is
average
a finding
raised by an incumbent
a
was
court
almost $2 million.
that
The average raised by a challenger
district plan,
was a
a
redistricting map, has
open
intentionally
seats are seats
broken
where
apart
there's no
the
incumbent
voting
running, that
power
somebody has
of
retired
people of color.
and is not
The
running for
Supreme
re-election.
Court has found
And you
that
can see in the
that process
Senate
violates
there's
the
a
14th
huge,
Amendment guarantee
more
of equal
huge, if you
protection
will,
under the law.
incumbency
Is
advantage.
unconstitutional
$15
racial
million
gerrymandering.
on average
If you
raised
think
by
back
Senate
to the
incumbents versus $2
discussion
million on
that we
average
had
raised by
in this
challengers,
class,
part of the
about
reason
the
they're able
14th
to
Amendment,
do that is
if you
because
remember strict scrutiny,
interest groups
laws that discriminate on the basis
in
of
who they give
race
their money to.
have to
They
serve a
want to give
compelling
money
government
to
interest.
incumbents,
And the court has said there can be no
hopefully
compelling government
secure
interest
good
in
votes,
keeping people of
and to
color
support people
from
who
electing
support
people
their
of political
office.
agenda. So racial cracking is
But also they
unconstitutional.
tend not
But
to give a lot of money to challengers
gerrymandering,
because
both
challengers
packing
never
and cracking
win.
is okay
So it's
for
kind of
now.
a catch-22.
I just want to show you a couple of examples of gerrymandering.
If you don't have a hope of winning,
if you don't have
these
a hope
are
of winning,
current
you can't raise any
gerrymanders.
money. And so
you
usually
can
the people
see
who get
they
the
are
most serious
these
challenges,
districts
the
are
incumbents who get the most
geographically
serious
contiguous,
challenges, but they're
are people who are
strangely
involved in
shaped.
some sort of
It's hard to
scandal,
imagine
or who have
that
done
the people drawing
something,
these
they
district
voted
boundary
against
lines
their district a
didn't
significant
do
number of
this
times or
for
something
partisan
like that.
purposes.
Every
to
once
keep
in a while there's
their
a
political party in power.
This is North
Alexandria
Carolina, and you can see
Ocasio-Cortez beat an incumbent in
they
the
used to have them all
primary, in the
listed
Democratic
one after
primary,
the
and
other, but now
surprised
they have
everybody. Nobody saw it coming.
like this.
It's just one of those things.
These
But most
are
of the time,
funny little
incumbents have a huge
This looks like
fundraising
an elephant
advantage.
to me. That looks like his trunk.
Um,
But this is Florida, and you can see that
the
this is a
money
really
that
weirdly drawn
is
district.
raised
That's a
by incumbents.
gerrymandered
And I just
district.
kind of wanted to
And,
point this out to
here's
you.
another
is
one
what we call
that's hard to
money.
imagine
So
any purpose
the money that
other
candidates
than some
raise
sort of political gain that would
that
cause
they have
them to draw
control
the district
over,
boundary
that
lines
money that
so
I just
strangely.
showed you in
This
that
website,
slide,
I think I
actually
put it
has
in this
lots
of
of them,
them,
but I won't show
twice.
you all of them. Most of that money goes to incumbents. That's what we call
So
hard
that's,
money. That's not the money that's
gerrymandering.
raised by
Safe
super
seats
PACs or
for one
PACs.
party or the other.
That money
Either
goes through
directly to the
gerrymandering
candidates.
or
And again,
through the fact
it's
that
regulated.
there's a limit to
Lots
how
of
much an individual
people from one
person
party live in
or a
one
political
geographic
action
area
committee can
gives
give to a
one
candidate running for office.
part of the
But
incumbency advantage.
even under the
Incumbents
the
also
restrictions
enjoy
of the
a
Federal
huge
Elections
fundraising
Campaign Act,
advantage, and I mean a
they can raise
huge
an awful lot of
fundraising
money.
advantage.
What that means
The
is
last
that
thing that I wanted to
incumbents
talk
can
about are
usually
what we call
raise as
district
much
services.
money as they think
If
they're
a person
going to
already
need
holds
to get
office,
reelected.
they
And
have
challengers,
staff
people who run
whose
against the
sole
incumbents,
responsibility
almost
is
never
to help the people in
raise
their
as much
district
money, call those people
as the
constituents,
incumbent.
get things done.
That's part of
so,
the
for
reason
example, members of the
if
House of Representatives
somebody's-
don't tend to
say
get
your
very
grandmother lives
strong
with you,
challengers
and she lives
because
on
they know
her
they're not
Social
going to be able to
Security
raise
check
at
as
some
much
point.
money. She stops
Again, if
getting
we
her
go back
Social
to
Security check. There's
opensecrets.org,
obviously been some
you can
sort of
see the
glitch.
incumbency advantage.
So
This is
Grandma
from
calls
the
the Social
2018
Security
election cycle.
Administration,
And what you
they
can
tell
see
her
is
there's nothing
in the
wrong,
House
that
of Representatives,
she should
for
still be getting
example,
her checks.
the
That,
average
in
raised
fact,
by an
when they
incumbent
go back
was
and
almost
look
$2
again,
million.
they find that they
The
stopped paying
average
her
raised
because they
by a
thought she was dead.
challenger was
But
a
she's not dead.
fraction of that.
So you can go back and forth, back
open
and forth,
seats
back
are
and
seats
forth
where
with the Social Security
there's no
Administration,
incumbent running,
or
that somebody
you
has
can call your
retired
member of the House of
and
Representatives
is not running for
or call
re-election.
your United
And you
States
can see
Senator.
in the Senate,
You might not get a chance
there's
to
a
talk to them
huge,
directly, but
even
they
more
will
huge,
assign a
if you
staff
will,
person
incumbency
who will
advantage.
intervene on your
$15
behalf
million
to see if they can
on
get
average raised by Senate
get through
incumbents
that government
versus
red
$2
tape.
million on average.
So if you go
raised by
to
challengers. Part of the
most
reason they're
people who
able
live
to
in the city
do
of
that is
Sacramento are
because
represented by Doris Matsui.
interest
And
groups
she
are very
has on her
practical in who
website
they give their money to. They want to give money to incumbents where you can request help with a federal agency. It's called casework, votes,
and she will be happy to assist
people who
support
any problem you might be having
agenda
with any federal
but
agent.
also they tend not to give a lot of money to challengers
email her,
because challengers never win.
Link to where you can get
information.
and
You can't raise a lot
there's
of money
all kinds of information.
if you don't have a
different
hope of
ways
winning.
that you can
and if you don't have a hope of winning,
now, if you're an
you can't raise any
incumbent,
money.
you have
and
a
so
website
usually the people who get the most serious
by
challenges,
you and
the incumbents who get the most serious challenges,
posted
are people who are
federal
involved in some
government
sort of
house
scandal,
website,
or
and
who
if you're
have done something,
if you're a challenger,
they voted against their
you
district a
probably
significant
can't
number
do
of
that.
times, or something
district
like that.
services,
Every once in a while, there's a
favorable
surprise.
districting, a fundraising advantage, and better name recognition
all add up
an
to
incumbent
in the primary, in the Democratic primary,
where members
surprised
of
everybody.
the House
Nobody saw it
tend to
coming.
get
Just
reelected,
one of those
and
things.
the Senate tend to get
But
reelected
most of the
over and
time,
over again.
Incumbents
Even
have a
though
huge fundraising
we
advantage.
don't think Congress does a very good job.
So it's pretty good job security.
The money that
people
is
who are
raised
doing
by
a job
incumbents,
that
and I
most
just kind of
people
wanted
think
to
they're not
point
doing a
this
very good
out
job.
to you, is what
Turns
we
out
call hard
we don't
money.
like Congress, but
So
we like our
the money
own
that
member of
candidates
Congress. So when we
raise
say we should throw
that
the
goes-
rascals
that they have
out,
control over,
we don't
that
really
money
mean
that I
we
just
should throw
showed you in that
our
slide,
rascal
I think I
out
put
most
it in
of
this
the time.
PowerPoint twice.
Thanks for watching.
Most of that money goes to incumbents. That's what we call hard money. That's not the money that's raised by super PACs or PACs. That money goes directly to the candidates. And again, it's regulated. There's a limit to how much an individual person or a political action committee can give to a candidate running for office. But even under the restrictions of the Federal Elections Campaign Act, they can raise an awful lot of money. The last thing that I wanted to talk about are what we call district services. If a person already holds office, they have staff whose sole responsibility is to help the people in their district, we call those people constituents, get things done. So, for example, if say your grandmother lives with you and she lives on her Social Security check, and at some point she stops getting her Social Security check, there's obviously been some sort of glitch. So grandma calls the Social Security Administration and they tell her there's nothing wrong, that she should still be getting her checks, that in fact, when they go back and look again, they find that they stopped paying her because they thought she was dead, but she's not dead. So you can go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth with the Social Security Administration, or you can call your member of the House of Representatives or call your United States Senator. You might not get a chance to talk to them directly, but they will assign a staff person who will intervene on your behalf to see if they can get through that government red tape. So if you go to most people who live in the city of Sacramento are represented by Doris Matsui, and she has on her website a section of her website where you can request help with a federal agency. It's called casework, and she will be happy to assist you with any problem you might be having with any federal agent. And so you can email her, you can just link to where you can get information, and there's all kinds of information, different ways that you can contact her. Now, if you're an incumbent, you have a website that's maintained by you, and it's posted on the federal government's House website. And if you're a challenger, you probably can't do that. So, district services, favorable districting, a fundraising advantage, and better name recognition all add up to this huge incumbency advantage where members of the House tend to get reelected and the Senate tend to get reelected over and over again, even though we don't think Congress does a very good job. So it's pretty good job security for people who are doing a job that most people think they're not doing a very good job. Turns out we don't like Congress, but we like our own member of Congress. So when we say we should throw the rascals out, we don't really mean that we should throw our rascal out most of the time. Thanks for watching.